This is a short video on how to do the week 8 homework. So the first one here is really about making charts and trying to do that. So you've got a deli with sandwich sales. The first task is to sum up these numbers. A really quick way to sum up a group of numbers is to come over here. You can highlight this whole row, the Home tab, find Auto Sum, and sum up all those numbers. So you've got your whole row summed up in one quick, easy step. So that's the number of sandwiches sold, the total number of sandwiches sold. To calculate the income derived from that, we would start a formula with an equals, click on the number of sandwiches sold times the price of each sandwich. We don't need to absolute anything because we want both of these to change as we copy these numbers down. And you'll see that in a second. I can just copy these down and press enter. Now I can copy this down because the C5, the O5 and the A5, I want them to be O6 and A6 when I come down, and O7 and A7. So I want these to change relatively. When we come to the third worksheet here, absolute, we'll use absolutes and not do that. So again, I can just hover over my little copy handle here. See my cursor change? Double click and it copies the numbers down. And I can sum up my total income here using the same tool, Auto Sum. And it calculates it automatically. I can come along here, highlight all these, and I can sum again, use my Auto Sum. And that automatically fills in all the sums for all my columns. So getting the sums should be pretty easy and quick. Next step is to sort the data based on the name of the sandwich. Now when you sort, you can't just sort on one column. It doesn't make any sense, because if you just sorted the names of the sandwiches, let me make that bigger so you can see them. So I just clicked between the B and the C to expand that column. I'll do that again. So if I can't see everything, I can just come up between the B and C column, double click, and it'll automatically make it large enough so I can see everything in that column. So I can't just sort this, I've got to sort everything in this column. Now I'm going to highlight, including the headings here, come down. I don't want to sort totals, because if I sorted totals, it would automatically make this the largest. So it really wouldn't, you don't include total rows when you're sorting. So I've highlighted everything I'm going to sort. I'll come to data, do a sort, and what do I want to sort by? Well, in this case, you don't see sandwich name, but the sandwich names are under the column called month. So I'm going to sort by month. And I'll say alphabetical, A to Z. Okay. So now they're sorted. Chicken beak and tongue at the last. Third thing, create two charts as shown. So I want a chart like this, sandwich sales for 2009, and a chart down here showing total revenue. So I could come into here, look very closely at the chart here. You can see that what I have in the chart is I have the month names, I have the names of the sandwiches, and I have the amount sold for each month. I don't have totals in here of any kind. I mean, when you take them all together, there's a total, but I don't have individual total rows. And I don't have prices. There's no money here. So I want to highlight what I'm doing. I have the months, and I have the amount sold in each month along with the sandwich names. And I don't have the totals on either side. So the trick is to figure out what you have in the chart and then highlight that. And I'm going to insert now a column chart, and I'm going to use a stacked column chart, and there you see there's my chart. pretty much. A couple little things I could change here. I could come into Design up above for the chart, and I could move the legend here over to the right. See, I've got my legend on the right in my sample, but my legend is down below here. You can modify things by adding chart legend and move my legend now to the right. Add a chart title. Just type in here, sandwich sales 2009. Make that bold, a little bit larger. And there's my chart. I'll get rid of this sample chart. Now my next chart is a little bit different. I want to get the name of the chart, and in this case, the total sales in 2009. So let's come up here. I want the name of the sandwich, and now I'm going to hold the control key down. I'm holding the control key down. I'm moving over all the way over to total income, getting total income, not including the totals. Notice I have the heading, the month, and the total income for both of these. It's very important you get the same number of items in each row, otherwise your chart is just not going to work. And I'm going to insert now. I'll insert a bar chart. And didn't work. I have a chart that didn't work. I'll try it again. I must have highlighted some wrong things. Just delete my chart. Highlight again. Hold my control key down. I have the same number of items now. Insert and get my bar chart. And there's my sample chart. Pretty much the same. I could play with it a little bit more, but that does the job. And finally, you want to pretty this table up a little bit. The key thing here is really how do you get that big heading like Tony's Deli across the top? They have a tool called, so I'll highlight what I want it across. I'll make it across here, and I'll come to Home, and I'll merge and center. That's how you do that. Then I can just make that bigger, and I can bold it. I can put a little color behind it. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to make it like mine. Make it prettier than mine if you'd like. So that's the basic idea how to do the first one. Second one is PMT. It's the same as you did on the quiz, if you've done the quiz already. So a monthly payment here, you're going to use a PMT formula. I'm going to do something ahead of time. I'm going to do a calculation ahead of time that's going to help as we do this, because the PMT formula uses the amount you borrow, not the actual cost of things. Like the cost of the boat is $24,000, but I don't want to pay interest on the down payment. So I'm going to figure out what my down payment is first. And then I'm going to calculate, what my loan amount is. So my down payment is going to be equal to 20% of $24,000. So I'm going to say the $24,000 times 20%, which is $4,800. And the amount of the loan is going to be the $24,000 minus the $4,800. So $19,200 is the amount I'm actually going to borrow. And that's what I use in the formula. Come here where I want my answer at, my monthly payment. Go to my formulas, financial, find PMT, there it is. Brings up my box here, and I start filling it in. Rate, I take an annual rate. I want a monthly payment, so I'm going to have to convert this to a monthly rate, divide by 12. Number of payments, I've got 10 years, but I'm going to pay 12 times a year. So I'm going to multiply that times 12. And finally, The third element is the amount I'm borrowing for the loan, which we calculated, and that's why we did it. So I'll come back up here and enter that, and we'd have to pay $213.16 a month for our $24,000 boat. And our last spreadsheet here is recipe for chocolate cake. So you can, here we're going to use absolutes. Now I'm going to calculate the cost of chocolate for a German cake. I'm going to enter equals, takes 2 bars of chocolate times the cost of a bar of chocolate. So I'm just going to enter here. I'm not doing this right, and I can come up here and I can say it's B7 times D14, which is right. If I click here, you notice I don't get the right answers for the rest of these. Obviously, 4 bars of chocolate is not cost more than $2.50. So what happens? So I look here, my formula, and I've got B8, which is right, 4 bars of chocolate for a French chocolate cake, but it's pointing at D15, which is the cost of the eggs. If I look at the next one, these also went down, and D16 is now pointing at the cost of the milk. So what happened was my D14 kept moving down along with my B7. I wanted the B7 to be B8, B9, B10, but I want this D14 to stay the same and always point at the cost of a bar of chocolate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position myself right next to the D14 and press F4. You see the dollar signs? That makes it an absolute. It's freezing it in place. Now I can copy this down. So you'll see here that these are now right. For 4 bars of chocolate are $5. 3 bars of chocolate are $3.75. Let's do the same thing for the eggs here. 4 times cost of an egg. I'm going to press my F4 to make the cost of egg an absolute. Highlight here, copy that down. Same for the cost of milk. 3 cups of milk times cost of a cup of milk, absolute the cost of a cup of milk, enter. Highlight here, grab my copy handle, drag it down, and do the same thing here for the cost of sugar. So 2 cups of sugar times the cost of sugar, F4 to absolute it, and drag it down. So the total cost, I would just do an equal sign, and it's the cost of the chocolate plus cost of the eggs plus cost of the milk plus cost of the sugar. And I don't need to absolute any of those because I want all of those references to change. I want it to point to the costs for the French cake, the Chinese cake, the Japanese cake. So all of these I want to move down every time when I copy it. So I'll grab my copy handle, bring it on down, and grab that. So I want the average next. I want the average number of ingredients for each cake. So I can come here, and I can use that wonderful auto sum again to do this for me. Come here, come to auto sum, and there's average, count, max, all those. Average it up, and I have it. I can take this formula, I can copy it, Control C, and paste it here, and paste it here, and paste it here. So it works relatively, so each time I changed it, it worked for each of those, and I can press escape to get out now. And finally, I would make this pretty. I'd probably come here and go to home and merge and center, make that bigger, put some color behind it, a little chocolate cake color perhaps. Is that chocolate cake color? Probably not. Here, put some cake color behind it, make it a little bit bigger even, and so on, and just pretty this whole thing up somehow using different things. So that's the basic idea of how to do assignment for week number